welcome back to my channel. It's Andrea, and today it is time again for an update for my Pan Those Eyeshadows project. As always, this project was created by Alexi, who I will link down below, and yada yada yada. I'm sure this isn't the first Pan Those Eyeshadows video you've seen, so we're just gonna get right into it. I have a pretty exciting update today. I have 2 pans from my project plus 2 bonus pans. So I'll start with the bonus pans. First is I finally hit pan in this white peach shade in my Sweet Peach palette. This probably took me close to 200 uses just to hit pan in it, because all I use it for is to set like my transition area and my brow bone. And you don't need a lot for that, and these shadows are so tightly pressed. But I did pull this in the project, I think back in March, and I only kept it in for 2 months because I knew it was going to take so long to hit pan, and I'm really glad that I decided to roll it out, because I would have been pretty upset if this was in the project taking up the spot of another shadow, knowing how long it takes to hit pan on these. So that's the first bonus pan. My second bonus pan comes from one of my single shadows. This is from Ulta in the shade Dinner Party. It might be a little hard to see just because of the shade of the shadow, but the pan is right there. I use this a lot as an inner corner highlight, especially with the Moonlight shade that's in this product that I will be showing you in a few minutes, just because it's like a cooler lavendery purpley pink, and it paired really well with the Moonlight shade. So those were my 2 bonus pans. Now I will show you my shades that were in my palettes. So like always, I have 3 shades that I pull from my palettes, and I have 3 singles. So first shade comes from my BH Cosmetics Aurora Lights palette. It's this shade right here, Fluorescent. I've been working away at this side right here. It's kind of hard to see. These are like baked eyeshadows. They're domed, but the side is flattening out a bit. I only used this 4 times this month, and a total of 11 times in the project. It's been in for 2 months. Theoretically, I could roll this out, but since I haven't used it that much, I'm going to keep it in. Since I hit pan in 2 shades, I'm not going to roll out anything else regardless of how long it's been in the project, just because I am going to be rolling in new shades. Next comes my Urban Decay Born to Run palette. I was working on the shade Smog, and you will see I did manage to hit pan in it. This shade has been in the project for 4 months, and it took me 57 times to hit pan, but I finally did it, and that means I'm going to get to roll in 1 new shade from my palettes. And then the last shade that is in my palettes I rolled in last month is the shade Side Hustle from my Emily Edit The Wants. I did depot this, so here is what that's looking like. I used this shade 6 times this past month, mostly as like an outer corner deepening shade. That's not what I'm wearing today, but there's the tiniest, like you can kind of see that it's not quite flat and new and undisturbed, but there's not really a dip in it quite yet. So that is going to be staying in. Can you guess what I've forgotten to do? One day I'm going to, okay. So here is Fluorescent and Side Hustle, and then here is Smog. It looks much deeper on the eye than it does in the pan. So I did have kind of a hard time with this, I think, because it just really darkened up any look I did if I tried to put it on my lid. So a lot of times I use this as an outer corner or even as a transition shade, but I ended up hitting pan in it, so I guess it doesn't really matter. And I didn't bring anything to wipe my hands off with either. Whatever. Okay. So for my single shadows, I was working on my L'Oreal Infallible shade in Endless Sea. I did not hit pan in this. I used it 6 times, and one of those times I tried to do eyeshadow nails with it, which didn't work out very well, but I used a lot of product, so while there's no pan, I hope you'll be able to appreciate how deep that dip is. So I am also, even though this has been in the project for several months, I am going to keep it in because I feel like if I keep working at it, I will hit pan, hit jar. It's not really a pan, but I will hit something. And then the shade Moonlight from ColourPop, which I managed to hit pan in. It took me 30 uses, and if you'll remember, I had this, I think I pulled this and Say I Do from ColourPop in the same update. This took me 30 uses to hit pan, and last month I rolled out ColourPop Say I Do after using it about 60 times and you could barely see a dip. So this was an extremely powdery shadow, but I hit pan, so I'm gonna have a little slideshow of some of my looks for the month. Because that was so powdery, that's why I really focused on it. So I have a lot of blue and greenish looks using that shade, but it ended up becoming a shade that I was really happy to be working on, even though when I first rolled it in, I wasn't that thrilled with it. But then I swear, I need to like make a sign that says, Andrea, swatch your eyeshadows when you're filming your updates. Okay. There's Endless Sea. There's Moonlight. And then the last shadow is also from ColourPop. It's this shade Slayfarer. Not much has changed. I used this 7 times, but this is one of their shimmers that they're pretty tightly packed. So even though I used it 7 times, it doesn't quite look like it's been used. And it is a bit of a stiffer formula as well. And there it is right there. So that means that we get to roll in 2 new shades. I have my spreadsheet up on my laptop as well as the random number generator on Google. So we're going to start with the number 2 because I do have a header, so my shadows start at 2. 2, 4, 67. Those are the eligible shades for my palettes. So we will generate a number, 174. No pen and paper. What am I doing with my life? Okay, 174. And as far as my single shadows, they also start at 2 and go to number 214. And we get number 102. So I'm gonna look at my spreadsheet, figure out what shades those are, and then I'll be right back and we'll find out what my new color story is gonna look like for the month of September. So I pulled out the new shadows, and spoiler alert, I didn't pick a blue or a green this time, so finally a little bit different of a color story. So the shade I picked from my palettes comes from my Revolution Soph X palette. It's the shade Pug, which is this cool toned light brown right here. So this, I've had this for a while and I've barely ever used it. So I'm glad that I pulled it into the project because it definitely has some very pretty shades, and goodness knows I could use some mattes in this project that are a little more neutral. And the single that I picked is another ColourPop single in the shade Sweet Spot. So it's this really bright dandelion yellow. I don't think I've used this shadow even once. So here they are swatched out. There's Pug and there's Sweet Spot. So definitely a little, I've got a range of things going on here, but I can definitely make them work together in some form or fashion. So I'm super excited that I got to pull in some new shades to work on. I'm excited that I had 2 bonus pans, and I'm going to play a video of some of my looks from the month, but I hope you enjoyed. If you're doing this project, please let me know in the comments so I can check your videos out. I hope you're staying safe and happy and healthy, and I will talk to you later. Bye.